Okay, let's take a look and see how we can easily estimate a material cost for a wall system. And we're just talking on this one, we're just going to be talking about the structure of the wall. We're not going to add in the modifications for doors and windows and some other things. And we're going to use something called modules to do that. So let's see how we might be able to do that. Now I can advance to a new, there we go. So estimates often use things called modules. They're a small part of the whole that gets repeated over and over and over again. So you can think of on a wall, you know, most of the wall is always built the same way. And so if I know how much, say, 4 foot or 8 foot or 10 foot of it costs, if I know the whole length, I can just divide the two. And a real typical wall module is 8 foot tall. And it's actually 8 foot by 8 foot. Thought I had that changed. 8 foot tall and 8 foot wide, because that will easily accommodate common types of sheathing, both the interior and the exterior. And it's a real common length for being able to evenly place studs and things like that. So so we use them to estimate because it's really quick. If I know the cost of a wall module, then the whole wall doesn't matter. I don't have to really recalculate very much. Just take the length of the wall and divide by this cost that I've already got. And so the first thing to do is find out the wall module cost. And we use lumber and sealant and flashing and fasteners and insulation. See, we use all these things in it. Then we find out how many modules there are in a design. And then we compute a cost. All right, so let's see how that works. So the first thing to do is to figure out the module cost. And so I'll look at these images first and figure out what's there. I count a bunch of studs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you use the same material for top and bottom plates as you use for the studs, then sometimes it's actually less expensive than trying to sort out the types of wood so your best goes on the top and the bottom and these studs come here. And then the inspector has to look at everything. Whereas if you always just buy all of these studs for the top plate and the bottom plate, it's cheaper sometimes. Okay, so we can look at that. And then we know that the next thing that happens is you put on some wall sheathing. We're not doing the stud cavity insulation. We're doing the exterior insulation. And we're not going to talk about the cladding because that often comes at a later date. But we are doing the interior cladding, which is gypsum board. And we are counting some Tyvek wrap, some sealant, some nails, things like that. So here's the list. Here's the list of each thing. So we have 8 foot long 2x6 pieces of select Doug fir larch. There's 9 of them and they cost $5 a piece. So my total cost, I can do that one in my head. 9 times 5 is $45. So I'm going to use $45 worth of lumber. Then I've got 4x8 sheets of rigid external insulation. And there's 2 of those because that makes 8x8. And so I can do that one also. That's 110. And then I've got my internal, my wall board, my gypsum board. There's 2 of those, right? Because one takes up 4 foot, the other one takes up the other 4 foot to make 8. And so that's going to be like $31. And then I have my OSB. Okay, my sheathing that goes on the outside. There's going to be two 4x8s of those. And that looks like 3850. It is quicker if you can do these in your head, but sometimes you got to get that calculator out. The Tyvek wrap, remember that's that plastic that goes around, and I'm going to need 64 square feet of it, and it's about $1 a square foot, so that one's easy to multiply out in my head. And about half a pound of nails. They sell nails by the pound. And so I'll need about half a pound by the time I get all these nailing patterns done and everything. So that looks like it's $22.50. I can multiply it out, right? It's half of 45. Each of these is just multiplying my quantity times the cost. And for my sealant, I'm going to use 1/4 of a tube. So 1/4 of 12 is pretty close to $3. Now I've got to add it all up. Whew, okay. Let me do some adding here. I've got 45 plus 110 plus 31 plus 38.5 plus 64 plus 22.5 plus 3, $314. So each time I have to use a module, it's going to be $314. I'm going to make that I'm going to squeeze that out a little bit more so it fits a little better. There we go. So that's the cost for a wall module. Now, every wall module will be a little bit different. Not a lot different, but your cost changes on a daily or weekly basis. So, we're gonna give you lots of opportunities to figure those out. So that's figuring out a wall module cost, and I'm going to stop the video here and make a new video in a moment for how to figure out how many modules there are in a design.